Welcome, friends. Today, live at Integral Body Institute, I have very special guest. It's my dear friend, Dr. Nirdosh Kohra. Nirdosh will log in for this live very soon from Mexico City. And just before starting, I would like to introduce Nirdosh. He was born in Mexico City. He graduated as a medical doctor, and he took off on a journey around the world to find a way to bridge Western and Eastern medicine. He experienced, as was trained in many healing transformative techniques in India, Tibet, Europe, USA, and Mexico that allowed him to create the Body Medicine Institute. And body medicine is a new holistic approach to healing that looks for root cause of any symptoms or disease, including emotional, mental, physical, energetical, and spiritual situations, and helps the patients find a way back to harmony and well-being. He also co-founded Path of Meditation. He's co-founder of Conscious Nutrition Academy, and he is founder of Body Medicine Institute. Let me invite to our live Nirdosh. Hello, Nirdosh. Good to see you.
Hello, Nisarga. Very nice to see you also.
Great, fantastic. During this live podcast, I would like everybody who are with us tonight, if you have any questions around the subject, which is health advices for dealing with low energy, depression, and anxiety, if you have any questions related to the topic, please ask in the comments and we will be able to reply. So to start with, I'm very excited to see you, Nirdosh. We've seen each other in Afros this summer, and you are now in Mexico City. So great to see you.
Yes, yeah, great to see you too. Very nice to meet again. After a few months, we met in person, and even though we're in different parts of the world, it's always a pleasure to meet you, Nisarga.
So I'm always, what I read in your bio, what really somehow I'm curious about is at some point as a doctor, because you study medicine, you decided to merge, it was your passion to merge that Western and Eastern medicine. If you just can start, how did it all happen for you? And when did you decide that maybe Western medicine is not enough, and or how was that link between these two words happen for you, and how did you discover that this is optimal healing?
Yeah, basically, I was fortunate enough, while I was studying medical school, I was fortunate enough to have some influence of the so-called alternative methods of healing. I was already vegetarian, I was teaching yoga, I was receiving treatment with homeopathy. So that already gave me an experience and a view of how the body functions and how the body can heal beyond what I was learning in medical school, which was completely, the allopathic point of view, which is all physically based, let's say. And even more when I finished medical school and I went to really practice conventional medicine, I realized that I was not doing what I could really do for people. I was basically taking away symptoms, which is mostly what conventional medicine does. Antihistaminics, anti-inflammatories, antibiotics, cortisone, antidepressives, and most of the medications that are used in conventional medicine are used to treat symptoms, are palliative treatments. So that got me very frustrated, and I saw that there was much more to that, to healing. And that's what convinced me, instead of continuing through the conventional medical path, which is just doing a specialty, subspecialty, and continue basically doing the same, which is just prescribing medicine or surgery. Then I embarked on a journey through many places of the world, and I learned a lot of methods and techniques that allow me to have a much more integrative approach to the human being. And that's how I work, because we human beings are so much more beyond the physical body that conventional medicine analyzes. So in order to really achieve healing, we need to take into account and approach other aspects of ourselves, which is our emotional aspects, our mental aspects, nutritional, energetical, spiritual, lifestyle, and many more, in order to really have an integrative approach to healing. So that's a little bit of how my path has been, and that's how I work, and that's my passion. So I'm very grateful to be able to do this.
That's great. That's great. It sounds like I really like that combination of Western and Eastern words, where we can bring that completion through nutrition, through meditation, through mindfulness, and bring them together, merging these two words together. I think they give much deeper understanding of what really health is. So I wanted to ask you a question about the cause of any psychological imbalance or disease that can be formatted in the body, because you are a founder of body medicine, and as I understood, the body medicine is the path or health approach that deal with what is the cause, doesn't heal only symptoms, but going to the roots of the problem. And especially now there's a lot of different psychological imbalances during last months in the world due to the COVID. And so I just wonder, from your perspective, what is that core problem? What is that cause?
Yeah, well, I like how you asked the question, because you ask, what is the cause of the psychological imbalances or psychological symptoms or diseases? And in a way, we have gotten used to describing this is a psychological disease and this is a physical disease. But in a way, in my experience, in all the research I've done and all my practice during these years, it is more than evident that anything that manifests psychologically or in our behavior is completely connected to our body. There's no way to separate physical processes, physiological processes in the body from psychological processes. And it's the same other way around. When somebody has a physical symptom or is diagnosed with a physical disease, this is also not separate from a psychological, emotional process that the person is living. So everything is completely interconnected. The thought patterns, the psychology of the person, the emotional reality, and the physical manifestations of that situation that the person is living. Now, there are certain differences in when a person manifests symptoms more physically and when a person manifests symptoms more psychologically or emotionally. There are certain variations that we study in body medicine that are based on the 5 biological laws, which are very, very specific. And some of them are very unique, which we call them in this science, we call them brain constellations, which is very unique situations that a person is living in their life, very unique triggers that create a lot of tension, that have like a shocking, even traumatic impact in their life. And a combination of certain situations will manifest in the person in a shift, in an alteration in their psychology and in their behavior, which then are called different kinds of diagnosis, psychological or psychiatric diagnosis. For example, that today we will speak a little bit of depression. This is one of the main diagnoses that are given, which are considered only a psychological issue or problem. But there are various elements that are completely connected with the body, with emotions, and with the situation that the person is living in their life in that moment, that will manifest in these symptoms called depression. Low energy, no stimuli to do things in life, everything looks gray, wanting to sleep, and not so much social interaction, being very introvert, etc., etc. The common symptoms of depression. And I don't know if you would like me to speak a little bit of what are these causes specifically of depression.
I think it would be great, because I think it's such a huge topic in today's world. Depression is like big epidemic. Before COVID, I was working in a clinic in Warsaw, like mainstream clinic, as a body work, and it was quite conscious clinic that could see that importance of holistic health. And still, most of the clients that were coming, they were diagnosed with depression. They were under medication. The first thing they go to the doctor, to the psychiatrist, they got a pills. Nobody is really interested to trace back down what is the cause of depression. And so for me, this would be so important to tap into this topic, because what you describe as diagnose of depression, that is being in this tunnel, being in this dark place, there is no resource, there is like no point to leave. And my curiosity from your point of view would be not just diagnose, but also help understanding how to bring that way back from the tunnel, and how to really find the cause, trace down very gently, very lovingly, the cause, like what brought the person to this state, and how to come out of that state.
Yes, this is great that that you put it in this way, because there's so much input that people are receiving in a way negative, especially nowadays in mainstream media, about the situation we're living. And it's very interesting that there's a certain focus that we all know where all the information is put, about this COVID situation. But right now, there's almost no talk about this topic that we're talking about right now, about the effects, the psychological and emotional effects that this situation is having in people. And it's very interesting, because I found a lot of data that was brought out around June, July, after 3 months of this world situation that we're living, and they had already analyzed. For example, in the United States, they already saw that since this COVID-19 pandemic started, 3 months after, there was already a 3-fold higher incidence of depression in the United States. It had tripled the incidence of depression. They also saw that this definitely is increasing a lot the incidence of suicide, anxiety, and many other illnesses related to that. Even in the UK, I also found that in the UK, they also found this increase 2 or 3 times higher of depression and suicide since the pandemic started. And it's very interesting, because this is not spoken at all, in the news right now. And one other detail is that, for example, in the USA, every year there's around 50,000 deaths of suicide. But this is not considered, an epidemic or a pandemic. In the whole continent of America, there's more than 100,000 deaths by suicide every year. And this has never been considered something as an epidemic or pandemic. So I think it's very important to talk about this, because these numbers that I just said are from the previous years. But right now, with the situation that we're living, it's double or triple. It's still not being reported, but it's a very important topic to talk about, to see what is causing this, and also what alternatives we have to support people to come out of this. And I think this is the main focus of our talk today, which you just asked me. And conventionally, depression, conventional medicine doesn't really know exactly what causes depression, surprisingly. And the only treatments that are given are basically medications, which are symptomatic treatments. Again, it just diminishes the intensity of the symptoms we just talked about, but it doesn't go to the root cause. Now, I'm going to speak right now about a few of the very specific causes that we know from body medicine and the 5 biological laws that have been studied throughout the last 40 years. And they are completely related also to the science that I know you work with. You work a lot with trauma healing. So this is completely connected with these sciences that are already very well widespread around the world. And body medicine knows the very specific factors that trigger these depressive symptoms. Four of them are the most prevalent, are very direct situations that a person can live, which will immediately create a shift in the polarity of the two brain hemispheres and will create this depressive state. So I'm just going to mention them, and then I will mention a few others which act indirectly in the body and in the psyche that also create these symptoms. The ones that are directly are situations that a person can live in their life where they have lost something or someone very important in their territory. When somebody has lost a loved person, they have lost their job, they have lost their home, something that is part of their more close territory life, intimate relationships, when they have lost it, this creates in most of the people a feeling of depression. This is one of them, one of the four. There's another one when in their territory, in their home or in their job, they feel an imminent element. After I give these four examples, I'm going to mention the key element why their body responds like this and why people stay in this state for long periods of time. And that will be the most important element to consider. The third element is when the person is living a situation inside their territory, inside their home, inside their job, where they have a very strong confrontation, fight, arguments, when there's a very strong component of anger, which is not resolved, it's constantly there, and the person doesn't know how to deal with the situation. So they stay with this constant confrontation, friction, and anger that is not expressed. This can also cause this shift in the brain cortex that causes depression. And the fourth one is when the person also can experience something in their own territory. I call it territory because this is a term we use a lot in body medicine. When the person has felt invaded or that their boundaries are not respected, it can be their home, it can be their job, it can be their own body also. These are the four main causes of clinical depression. Now, this only happens when there's one element that creates the somatization, that really creates this shift in their personality, in their inner feelings, in their inner reality called depression. And this element is that when a person experiences one of these four situations that I just described, this will obviously create a lot of emotional movement, a lot of fear and sometimes anger. But what creates this shift that the person literally starts going down into depression is when the person lives this impact in their lives and they do not have resources or they don't express what is happening in them related to the situation, and they don't have somebody who they can communicate, express, seek for help, seek for support, and receive the support. This element, I think, is more important than even knowing the four causes. Because when a person, and it has been proved scientifically through thousands of studies, that when a person experiences one of these situations, because right now with the world situation, there are hundreds of thousands of people who are losing their jobs, for example, which is one of the causes of depression. But not all of them manifest depression. And this is the key element that determines if their whole psyche will shift, if the whole production of neurotransmitters will be altered and cause these depressive symptoms. If the person manages to reach out, to ask for help, to express their feelings, their sadness, their frustration, their helplessness, their fear, if they manage to reach out and communicate it with somebody, to release this verbally, physically, with movement, with breath, as you know very well how to work with this, when a person manages to do this, then their brain neurologically and physiologically does not need to create, does not need to, or it doesn't do it at all, this shift that brings a person into that depressive state. So what I'm saying right now, that this element is one of the most important things a person needs to consider when they are facing situations like I just said, when they lose their job, when they lose a dear person, when their home, their territory, their job is threatened by a situation like the one we are living right now in the whole world. Because so many people are experiencing these things, and for many of them it's unavoidable to experience, it's out of their hands. But this element that I just mentioned, the element to seek for support, to have somebody close to unburden themselves, to feel supported, to feel accompanied, to feel that there's somebody that can understand me and listen to me, this has a huge impact in our physiology, in our psyche, in our brain harmony. And this element, if a person really does this and reaches out and expresses everything that they're encountering, this is proved to prevent depression and these consequences psychologically, emotionally, and physically. So this element is one of the most important elements in prevention and in coming out of situations like what we're talking about, depression.
Yeah, I really love what you said. I love this explanation of 4 points that are kind of taking away, that are like invading about territory in different aspects, what you call in body medicine. And I totally agree with you that big part of coming out of depression in those challenging times is reaching out for help, sharing emotions, sharing feeling, engaging body through breath, through movement, because very often those strong emotions lives in the tissue, in the fascia, in the body. But I know from my perspective, and this is something I'm curious to hear from you, like few months ago, like April, May, when I was in Poland, when COVID was like every country in Europe almost was going in lockdown, I have to tell you, knowing a lot about trauma and having a little bit of awareness about myself, I was frozen. And I didn't know how to reach, what to do with it. And I think there's many people who might not know how to reach out for different reasons. Firstly, they might not be aware that they are in a state of freeze. The parasympathetic nervous system is shut down, or they might not have enough understanding about what is the resource. And so I'm curious, from your perspective, what advice would you give to somebody who just to recognize I'm in freeze and I need to reach out? Because when you're already in this state, knowing I have to reach out, it's kind of easier. Oh, I call a friend, I meet somebody, I move my body, I go to forest, I go to run, whatever else it is. But there's many cases where people don't know they are in the state and they don't know how to move. So what to do?
Yeah, this is a fantastic question. And I think this is great that you mentioned it, because it has happened to me many times also. When I'm in this freeze state, it's not easy to recognize it, and it's not easy to reach out because I don't even recognize it.
Yeah.
So it's great how to recognize when we are in this shock situation, which is super common right now, very widespread because of the world situation we're living. There's one element which is very interesting to recognize, that is when we feel a loss of emotional feeling, perception, and like in normal day-to-day life, any human being will always go through a flux of emotions, pleasant and unpleasant, joy, excitement, love, pleasure, and also fear, sadness, anger, let's say like waves. This is normal in our day-to-day life with all the situations we're encountering in our life, with the traffic, with the work situations, with the relationship situations. Now, when somebody is in a freeze state, it's very interesting that this flow, natural flow of emotions, it's kind of blocked. It's like the person doesn't even know it. There's like a kind of disconnection from the emotional body. We call it emotional body also. There's like this no feeling, like as if there's a barrier, there's an insensitivity. And this is one of the key elements of being in a freeze state after a shock. There's no emotion, there's no emotivity. Now, this sometimes is not so easy to recognize, but now that we're verbalizing, we're talking about it, a person hearing about it could recognize, like, wow, it's been a few weeks or a few months that I feel like flat, like there's nothing really happening. There's no excitement, there's no love, there's no enthusiasm, there's no joy and wonder in my life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because when there's all this normal flow of emotions, then even if it's not, sometimes then when there's a bit of anger and some sadness and fear, at least there's this natural flow between the sympathetic and parasympathetic system. But when we're in a freeze state, there isn't that flow. So this is one of the ways to recognize we can be in a freeze state. Another can be when there's a difficulty sleeping. Of course, there's insomnia, and there's a very high state of the sympathetic system, which doesn't allow us to rest. This is another one of the symptoms. Or a situation where there's a hyperreactivity, that a person notices that with very small stimuli, there's an hyperreaction, sometimes with anger. That can also be a sign that the person is in this freeze state or hyperactivation of the sympathetic system. I don't know if this also sounds logical from your knowledge, from your experience working with shock and trauma.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So this, okay, what we're doing right now, you and me, we're talking about it, we're bringing it to the light. We're not doing a therapeutic session right now, but at least we're bringing this out to the light so people can recognize it and can see, wow, this is what's happening in me. So then we're going to talk about things that we can do in order to slowly come out of it, or which are possibilities that can support people, especially in the world situation that we're living today, which is a very unique situation. Now, with the 4 examples I gave you, that are the main triggers of depression in people, losing somebody or losing something very important in the territory, feeling very threatened, having somebody inside our territory with a lot of friction, or feeling invaded, these 4 main causes, it's evident that what we're living today with this pandemic and the regulations that are being placed, needing to stay at home, needing to stay away from people, feeling that there's a kind of threat all over, that we don't know where it's going to come, this virus, some people losing their jobs. It's very evident that many people can have directly these impacts that will create depressive symptoms. So what can we do about it? What can we really do if anybody is experiencing one of these situations? Number one, realize that there is always a possibility to connect with somebody, okay? And this is something that I always encourage people who take my workshops and to take a little time to consider, who in my life do I have as a friend, as a family member, or even if I don't find a friend or family member, who do I have in my life whom I can reach out to share and communicate these difficulties, to share and communicate this fear, this helplessness that I'm experiencing. Okay, because many times we have friends, but we have friends just, to go and distract ourselves or go have a few drinks or whatever, but not people who I can really connect intimately to share personal, intimate things. So if somebody doesn't find somebody who they can share like this, there's always a possibility to seek for a person like this professionally, a therapist, let's say, because this is what therapy does. Anybody of us who work with therapy, we are there to hold the space for a person when they are going through something which is overwhelming for them. And this is one of the key elements of all therapies, that we are a person who is there to support this person so they can unburden themselves emotionally, psychologically, even at a cellular level, as you were mentioning before, through movement, through breath work, through other cathartic methods. So everybody can do this. Everybody can find somebody whom they can receive the support from. And this is what I would encourage anybody who can relate to what we're talking about, anybody who can relate that they might be in this situation. And they will see, and this I can almost assure, that it might sound just a little bit like, okay, it sounds a bit like psychological stuff, but it's amazing. I see it every day in my consult. When a person is in this situation, that they are facing one of these situations I just mentioned in their lives, and they're feeling depressed, they're feeling very low in energy, they also have some anxiety, they feel lost, they feel no sense in continuing living, very low energy, and they reach out and they receive one session of a therapeutic method with somebody that is qualified, that can receive all of this. It's amazing the immediate shift the person feels. It's really unbelievable. And I'm sure you have experienced this hundreds of times. Yeah. So this is one of the most important elements. I'm going to speak about, in a little bit, about the other possible causes of depression, which are indirect. And then we can mention other supportive measures. But at least with these four basic triggers of depression, the main, let's say, door to come out of it is to seek for support, for real psychological, emotional, contained support. And this can even happen at long distance. This is what I'm experiencing right now. I'm sure you're also giving online sessions where I'm blown away when we can give consult sessions, therapeutical sessions online, and the people benefit incredibly.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So
what I think you talked about before, which I also agree totally, is the power of community. And this is, I think, both of us as a member of, for example, Osho Afros community, we know how powerful this is to be among, like-minded people, supportive people who are meditating, also who are mindful, who share specific a lifestyle, and so I think this is so powerful. The community, for me, it's one of the most important aspect in my life. When I travel or when I choose place for living, first thing I'm choosing is there a community that I'm connected? This is for me number one priority. And if there is no community I can have support, no matter how beautiful place is, it doesn't do anything for me. So I think that aspect is really, really important, because we can really that part of intimate sharing is so important. And I think especially now in pandemia, that aspect is so limited for people. But what I would like to mention also around freeze and coming out of freeze, because you mentioned that expression. But I think what's before that for me, it's an aspect of meditation, because I think very often before I can understand I'm in freeze, the witness, the witness that is present in meditation, who can bring awareness to my body, where my body is disconnected, disassociated. What do I feel? Without meditation, for me, it's much more difficult to grasp that nuances in my inner world. And I think that part of that state of freeze is we need to start observing first body. Your concept is called body medicine, and I think it doesn't come from English body, but I think there is some for me also like a link there about physicality, that all happens and started from our physical body. We, of course, body, mind, and spirit, but without acknowledging that grounding body aspect, we cannot move forward. So I think for me that understanding about freeze comes first, like what is present in my physical body, tracking down the body sensations, checking where body is vibrating, where my body is disassociated, what parts are off, numb, and then understanding, okay, this is what's happening, and then how I can express, how I can reach out, how I can be with myself.
I love that you mentioned this, and thank you for bringing this up, because it's absolutely, I'm completely in tune with what you say. And as you say, Bodhi medicine, it's written Bodhi, which in Sanskrit means awareness, consciousness, to bring awareness to the body itself, because our body is speaking to us all the time. And when the best path to bring awareness to our body is through meditation. So it's completely, I'm totally in tune with what you're saying. And I like it because, from your side, the Integral Body Institute is completely working from this approach. And from my side with Bodhi medicine, it's also bringing awareness to the body. That's why, in a way, we have this common language and common approach to healing. So I'm really happy you bring this up. And also the element of community, because this is like, wow, this is a massive element to bring awareness to. And I'm so grateful that when this whole pandemic started in March, I found myself in one of these communities. I was in Brazil in a meditation center there, a beautiful place called Oceanic. And we were in lockdown for 3 months there. I couldn't leave. All the flights were blocked, etc. And we stayed locked in, 25 adults and 3 kids. And it was incredible, the experience I had of a community facing this survival pandemic situation that we were facing. I never experienced in my life so clearly the support of a community. And then I went back and looked at really our historic development as human beings on this planet, that since the beginning of Homo sapiens on the planet 250,000 years ago, we have always lived in communities. We have always lived in tribes. And in the beautiful moments and in the very challenging moments, we always stuck together as a group, as a tribe, as a community. And what we're facing right now, and how commonly this situation is being faced, and what people are being placed in, is they're being placed in isolation. So this is an element that in a way goes against our biology, our psyche, how our brain has been developing for 250,000 years on this planet, how our relating is meant to be, how everything can be in balance and harmony mentally, neurologically, if our environment is also in balance. And because we are being placed in this isolation situation, this disrupts this natural way of functioning as human beings. So for me, this is essential. The community is an incredible support for this kind of situations. So, okay, even if we are, because it's different, the policies in every country, what we're facing, in Europe, in Mexico, in the United States, etc. This is another invitation I would do to people to search for a community where they feel they belong, where they feel they receive the support through whatever process they're going through. It can be one of these processes that I mentioned, or something else. And this is what you and I have experienced when we go to these communities, also in Greece, where we meet every year in this community, Osho Afros in Greece. It's amazing. I was also there the last 4 months in the pandemic. It's amazing to feel myself, the different reality, when I am connected with a supportive community and when I'm on my own. This is very, very strong for our brain and our psyche. So community is essential. Even if it's really where I can live together with people and hug them and talk together, or even if it's virtually at least.
Mm.
There are communities. I have formed my body medicine community. We just finished a week ago a 2-month training of body medicine, and 70 people. We were in a journey together for 2 months, and we're still together sharing what we're going through. And it's incredible the effects this has in each individual. So yes, this community is one of the most important things. And one of the other causes I was going to mention about causes of depression was isolation. That was one of the other ones I was going to mention. So you brought it up, and yes, it makes absolute sense. Yeah.
It's just then finding finding at least online community where people can relate to. And at Integral Body Institute, since March, April, we have been offering a lot of daily meditation with all the team. So those of you who would like to look back and look for this kind of support, you can look back on our page. But I want to ask you also how people can find you and where they can get support from body medicine community.
Yes, the body medicine. Okay, I have my sites on Facebook, Body Medicine Your Body Knows, in Instagram, Body Medicine, my website, www.bodymedicine.com, BODHI medicine.com. And what we're doing is, I'm really grateful, because I never knew we were going to reach this point, what we're living right now. There was a part of me that was in the last 3 years feeling, okay, this system, the world system is collapsing. I was kind of having these ideas, but right now it's like boom, it really it blew out.
Yeah.
And then I'm seeing that I'm so grateful I can share this knowledge in at least online, these courses that I'm giving, this body medicine trainings and courses, because it empowers people to see beyond what information is just being put in their face, to see beyond that, and to understand how their body works, how their psyche works, how their emotions work, completely in unity. And we explore a lot of very specific symptoms in the body, what causes these manifestations in the body, and what is the way out of it. And at the same time, psychologically, which methods we can use also to bring balance into our brain, into our emotions, into our physiology, which many of these techniques you offer them also in the Integral Body Institute, with breath, with movement, with a qigong, with many other methods, with meditation, definitely. So I'm very happy, because also in January I'm going to launch the full online training in English, 2 months, 4 modules, weekly meetings. We have an amazing program, online, live, where we go step by step exploring the 5 biological laws. What is the precise integration of thoughts, emotions, and the physical body? How this what are the causes that trigger imbalances? What are the ways to prevent it? Or which are the ways to come out of a cyclic situation? Cyclic meaning a chronic situation, which this is a very big topic also of what the world is facing in health today.
Yeah.
So it's a very integrative approach, very empowering. Anybody can learn this. This is something I keep repeating. We don't need to depend on a very specific doctor, therapist, etc. to heal. I can learn myself techniques, how to support myself in order to come out of these difficult situations and come back to harmony and balance.
Very beautiful. I'm glad you are sharing your program online, and it's such a beautiful time in a ways that gives us unlimited possibilities. I don't think our call would be even possible in, let's say, before COVID time. We would be too busy traveling or in group to meet online. We would probably have no time. And we have such a beautiful comments from our listeners. Satyam, thank you, Nirdosh, for sharing this important informations. Atimaya, yeah. Elena, good to be here. Laurinas, Nirdosh, big hug to you. Yolanta, very substantial and valuable information. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And maybe for the end, I would like to ask you, Nirdosh, to guide us into some maybe meditation or process, something practical we can take away home and we can do at times when, you know, when it's heavy, when it's difficult, when we got frozen, when we are like lost and in darkness with no light. Like, guide us, give us some tool that we can take back home.
Fantastic. I like this idea. Thank you for this invitation. And yes, we can do something that would take us maybe 5 minutes to whomever is listening here. So I would invite anybody who's watching to take a moment and take away your eyes from the screen and start allowing your eyes to look around. Wherever you are, even if you're in your home or you're outdoors, wherever you are, just very, very slowly start looking around to perceive where you are in this moment. Exploring the space that you are as if it would be the first time you are here. With curiosity. Noticing maybe what is in the walls or outside the window, what is above you or underneath. As if you have just landed in this place and you are starting to discover it. Just bringing your attention to where you are in this moment, allowing your eyes to explore. And notice what effect this has in your body. As you're doing this, notice what happens to your breath. What happens to your eyesight, how your eyesight is. And as you're exploring, also bring your attention to your feet. However your feet are, in whichever position. You can even move them a little bit, wiggle your toes a little bit. And notice the effect it has in your body. And what you're doing in this moment, looking around, feeling your feet, is something that helps you to come to the present moment, to come to where you are right now. This helps us very much to take distance from where our mind takes us. Our mind takes us to all the drama and the stories of all kinds of things that might be happening that are not happening right now for you. If you are listening to this, if you are watching this, you are in this moment, here and now. And what you're looking around you, what you're perceiving around you, and the sensations you're perceiving in your body in this moment, this is your reality. In this moment. And if you bring your attention to this, you just notice the effects it has in your body. Notice the effects it has in your breathing. And you might even notice that it has calming effects in your mind. With something as simple as noticing where you are in this moment. Because your body is always here and now. And most probably in this instance, in this moment, you are safe. In this moment. We're just bringing awareness to this. Just allowing ourselves to take a moment in this moment, in the place where we are at. And this was just 5 minutes, and maybe there is a difference in how I feel different. I don't know.
Yeah. I feel much more grounded, much more peace, and there was something beautiful you mentioned about in this moment we are safe, and this is such an important part that to understand that in that process of meditation that this moment there is no worry, we all safe right now, right here. So thank you for this beautiful meditation and your live talk. I think this was such a very informative but also practical live. So thank you for your time. Thank you everybody for joining us today. Stay in touch with Integral Body Institute. We will be inviting amazing guests and like Nirdosh today, and keep on sharing with you holistic health approach. So thank you and have a great, peaceful, loving evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Nisarga.